how there's different parenting, and I know that I need to, that I can't control how he parents.
But you've missed the point that we're even having this conversation, because his parenting is a condition that you can't control.
Right.
In other words, that's all things that you can't control. But what you can control, so out here in the details, you disagree with some of his parenting tactics.
Correct.
And he disagrees with some of your parenting tactics. Mm-hmm. And the children have got your number. Mm-hmm. If they can get the two of you stirred up against each other, mm-hmm. they are in the clear for a little while. So out there in the details of all of this, it's sort of endless. It's just sort of different scenarios, but it's sort of the same thing keeps going. So, but as you get back into this alignment that we're talking about, so you disagree with his parenting skills, and if you were to write a book about it or even discuss it with a group of lovely people as these that are in this room, you would find some agreeing with him and some agreeing with you. In other words, there could be a world debate over if this happens, then what should you do? And if this happens, then what should you do? But all of that is so poorly orchestrated and executed in comparison with your alignment with Source, who knows everything that's in your vortex and where you are in relationship to it, and everything that's in your children's vortex and where they are in relationship to it. So your inner being, the Source within you, knows what the path of least resistance is for all of you to get to where you want to be. And as any of you are in alignment with that, the impulses that you feel will guide you there. So even if your husband is executing the most horrible, by everybody on the planet, including your standards about what good parenting is, the fact that you're focused upon something that has you disconnected from Source means Source is not looking at your husband's parenting skills in the way that you are. It means that Source is knowing. Source, for example, is focused upon the good intent of your husband. Source, for example, is focused upon the love that Source knows that your husband has for the children and for you. In other words, you're not going to get Source in the middle of the argument. Why are you willing to get into the middle of the argument? That's really a good way to put it. Because when you're willing to go where Source won't go, then you're always out of whack, and then it always feels like somebody else should do something different in order for you to feel better.
Got it.
Oh, it's so easy to live a conditional life. We know that. When conditions are good, when you wake up and the kids are still asleep, we know. We know. You tiptoe around the house. I would brush my teeth, but they might hear the water running. Don't ring the doorbell, don't ring the doorbell, don't ring the doorbell, don't ring the doorbell. Oh, you've changed the conditions of my world. Now you have awakened the children. And what you really want is for them to be awake and moving around and sifting through contrast and putting rockets of desire into their vortex. And what you want to be doing is doing the same thing. And what you want to do every chance you get, which is while they're sleeping and first thing in the morning, just beat the drum of how you feel about them. Beat the drum of how lovely they are. Beat the drum of what amazing people they are. Beat the drum of the perfection of that which is them. Beat the drum of the clarity that they so often exhibit. Beat the drum of the pureness of their little hearts. Beat the drum of the fun that just runs through their veins. Beat the drum of the sweet things that you see them doing. Beat the drum of the things. Now, even in this, as Esther said to us, you're finding things that are conditions, but they are wobble-free conditions. In other words, you are practicing alignment that doesn't cause you to wobble, and as you do it enough, nothing will be big enough that you will wobble. Nothing will be so big that you will wobble. And then you'll stand as the example to your children that you mean to be, an inner being-like example that shows them that their happiness attracts you like moths to a flame. And that their unhappiness repels you, not because you don't love them. It's just the natural thing. You just don't hang around where it doesn't feel good. Mm-hmm. Just like their inner being doesn't hang around where it doesn't feel good. Take from yourself the burden of controlling uncontrollable conditions and accept the responsibility of controlling something that you can for sure control. And set yourself up for success in that by leveraging your energy with the energy of your true trajectory, so that next time or sometime soon, when they're squabbling, you're just standing back and just loving them so completely, even in the midst of their squabbling, that you just find the whole thing sort of cute and amusing. And now it's no fun to try to get you involved. Hey, Mom, she did, he did, she did, he did, because you're just standing there enjoying all of it. You're not going to take sides in it, because
I just say thank you for the story, and they usually are like, okay.
you're not going to get all twirled up in it, because you're steady where you are. You're loving them where you are. It's no fun to complain to someone who doesn't join you in the complaint. You just get tired of it. And for a while, you try harder to get them to see it your way. Esther would say to Jerry, I really want to talk about this, because I really want to know what you think. And Jerry would say, I think you really want me to agree with what you think. No, I really want to know what you think. But she really wanted him to just agree with what she was thinking.
Sounds familiar.
Because she was looking for validation in all the wrong places. She was looking for consensus in all the wrong places. Look for consensus with source, and then have your conversation. And it won't take long before your children will remember what true alignment feels like. They do it all the time. Amplify that. Amplify that. Not with slobbery, over the top, I love you so much because you're being nice to each other finally for a minute words. Not like that. Just train yourself into remembering who they are, and don't let the conditions of their temporary behavior derail you from your conviction of who they really are. Wouldn't you? Because then you're free to go out in the world. Otherwise, if people have got to behave, you've got limited places that you can go. You got to go only the places where people think like you. So find some church. Good luck. Find some country club. Find some little microcosm of the cosmos where everything's just the way you want it to be. How's that working out for you? What you really want is variety. And what you really want is your personal stability within the amazing variety. That's what you want. You go to a buffet, and because you don't believe that that buffet is going to assert itself onto your plate and into your mouth, you don't feel freaked out about the stuff you don't want to eat. You just look around, pick what you want, and live happily ever after. But in the buffet of children behavior, it feels like their behavior could assert unhappiness into your experience, but it cannot. Only your rendezvous with the vibration keeps it coming. Don't you love knowing that?
Yes.
So later, your children will say, Esther says this about her parents, I do not know what their secret was. I felt loved, but I don't remember Daddy ever hugging me, patting me on the head once. But I felt loved. I felt secure, although I don't ever remember having a conversation about what that even is. I felt well-being. I felt inspired to help, but I don't ever remember a list of chores that I was supposed to do. I don't ever remember being held hostage about anything. I just remember wanting to be of value, wanting to help. Esther was 5 or 6 years old and wanted to mow the lawn, but she couldn't start the lawnmower. So her dad would start it, and then she would mow until it ran out of gas. And then she would bring it back to him, and he would start it again, fill it up, and then she would mow until it ran out of gas. Something so pleasing about being helpful in an environment where nobody's demanding help. Something so pleasant about discovering how much you can give in an environment where nobody's demanding you and calling you away from your source. Esther's been pondering for years why she lived so happily ever after as a child. and is only recently understanding. It's because her parents were not standing in a place where they were needing her to behave so that they could be happy. They were not interested in her. Their life didn't revolve around her. They were really busy doing their thing. Now we know this is an environment that's different. Things have changed. In other words, Esther ran all over town on foot or on her bicycle. She didn't need her parents to tote her from place to place. She wasn't intruding on the freedom of their life experience as life sort of kind of has all of you doing today. Most parents are sacrificing so much of their personal time to take care of others. It's no wonder you get into a place of resentment. You can spend all day, every day just being a taxi service to where your children need to go. We get it that the conditions are not as conducive now as they might have been in simpler times to live happily ever after, but the laws of the universe are the same. And you have the ability to find a centered place where you can feel good regardless of what's going on. And when your children see you demonstrating that, they will begin to mimic it, because that will ultimately feel what's best to them, you see. Be inner being like. So your children say, why aren't you listening to me? And you say, because what you're saying is making me wobble. And they'll say, what do you mean? And you'll say, because I just love loving you so much. And if I listen to you, I'm getting mad. You're making me mad because I know that's not who you are. I know you're kind and you're not being kind. I know you love your sister or your brother and you're not loving your sister and your brother. So if I focus on that, I wobble and I don't want to wobble. Well, you're supposed to love us, which means you're supposed to pay attention to us. I do love you. That's why I'm not paying attention to you right now. I pay attention to you a lot, and sometimes I just go off and think about how much I love you. But sometimes you make it hard, and so I make it easy on myself because I want to love you all the time, which means when you're acting like that, I got to go someplace else to love you. And I want to love you more than anything in the world. So if that means I have to go where you're not or think about things that you're not doing, then I'm willing to do it, because loving you means that much to me. That'll get their attention.